Download the My Hingham app today and report issues and get information on town government with ease. Available on the App Store and Google Play. You can submit service requests or gain information with just a few taps on your phone. Using the My Hingham app puts immediate access to town resources in the palm of your hand, including calendars of meetings and events, agendas for upcoming meetings, building permit filing options, online bill payment options, and info about our boards, committees, departments, and services. For more information, please scan the QR code on your screen.
All right, good evening.
Recording in progress.
It is 6 o'clock on January 6, 2026. This meeting of the Hingham Select Board is called to order. Here we go. All right. I'm going to note for the record this meeting is being held in person and or remotely as an alternate means of public access pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Act of 2025 and all other applicable laws, temporarily amending certain provisions of the open meeting law. You are hereby advised that this meeting and all communication during this meeting may be recorded by the town of Hingham in accordance with the open meeting law. If any participant wishes to record this meeting, please notify the chair at the start of the meeting in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 20F, so that the chair may inform all other participants of said recording. Is anyone recording tonight's meeting? Seeing none, I know for the record that participated in tonight's meeting are board members Liz Klein, board member Julie Straley, and myself, William Ramsey, chair. Next item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. For those willing and able, please turn and face the flag of our nation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. We have several sets of minutes to review tonight. Julie, are you ready to proceed?
Yes.
Liz?
Yes.
With that, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes dated December 2nd, 2025.
Second.
All those in favor, Liz?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
I'm also an aye. Motion carries unanimously. I'll take a second motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes dated December 9th, 2025.
Second.
All those in favor, Julie?
Aye.
Liz?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Motion carries unanimously. I'll take a third motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes dated December 16th, 2025.
Second.
All those in favor, Liz?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
I'm also an aye. Motion carries unanimously. I'll take one final motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes dated December 18th, 2025.
Second.
All those in favor, Julie?
Aye.
Liz?
Aye.
I'm also an aye. Motion carries unanimously. All right, next item on the agenda is to proclaim January 7th, 2026 as Adelia Day in the town of Hingham. I think we have some of Adelia's family here tonight, so thank you for joining us. With that, I'll turn to Julie to start us off.
Great. Town of Hingham, Massachusetts, proclamation honoring Adelia. Whereas Adelia, known fondly as Adelia the Wonder Girl, bravely inspired her community during her courageous battle against DMG, a rare and aggressive form of brain cancer. And whereas Adelia's strength and resilience shone brightly throughout her 15-month journey of treatments, leaving an indelible mark on all who had the privilege of knowing her. And whereas Adelia's sparkling eyes and infectious personality touched the hearts of everyone she encountered, her old soul and witty sense of humor leaving lasting impressions. And
Whereas at the young age of 8, Adelia had consistently embraced life with an unparalleled spirit of adventure and a profound love for her family, teaching us all to cherish each moment, love more deeply, and find beauty in every aspect of life. And whereas her passing in 2024 has deeply saddened our community, yet Adelia's bright light continues to shine as a reminder of the enduring power of courage and love.
Now, therefore, we, William C. Ramsey, Elizabeth F. Klein, and Julie M. Straley, Select Board of Hingham, do hereby proclaim Adelia's Day of birth, January 7th, as Adelia the Wonder Girl Day in the town of Hingham, and urge all citizens to observe this day by emulating the spirit and attitude of Adelia. We honor her memory, celebrate her life, and extend our heartfelt condolences to her family. Signed this 6th day of January 2026, William C. Ramsey, Chair, Elizabeth F. Klein, and Julie M. Straley. And with that, I would take a motion.
I will make a motion to proclaim January 7th, 2026 as Adelia Day in the town of Hingham.
Second.
All those in favor, Julie?
Aye.
Liz?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Motion carries unanimously. And I have the signed proclamation here if you'd like to receive it. Would you like to come up, or, I didn't think, yeah, come on up. Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda is consider approval of a special one-day wine and malt beverages license to Vitamin C Brewing for the New Year's bonfire at Weir River Farm to be held on Saturday, January 10th, 2026, from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Do we have Rich on the line or Alyssa? I see Rich DeBoner up there. Rich, good evening.
Good evening. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Can you tell us a little about your application?
Absolutely. So this is for the New Year's bonfire at Weir River Farm. Takes place this Saturday, and everybody can bring their Christmas trees to put into the bonfire. It's just a good time to hang out with everybody and have some good food. The Mom on the Go food truck will be there. We'll be serving some drinks, and it's a good time, under the moonlight with the bonfire going. Should be nice.
Rich, thank you. Alyssa, do you want to add anything?
Pretty much just what Rich said. We have the police detail was requested and fire detail coming, so we're all set, and it should be a good night.
Great, thank you. Tom, I know this is an annual event. Has the police department or fire department reported any concerns?
No, they have not.
Excellent. Liz, any questions?
Yes, I saw that the police detail has been requested and the fire detail has been approved. The only thing I noticed, at least on the version I have, is the date is incorrect. It says the 2024.
On the license, I'll check to make sure the license is accurate.
Okay, so it should be January 10th, 2026.
Yep.
Okay, great. No other questions.
Julie, any questions or comments?
No questions. My only comment is I'm glad it's been so wet, so we don't have any problem with dry grass and trees and all that. So, but it sounds like a great event.
Any members of the public have any questions or comments? All right, can you check the Zoom? All right, seeing none, I would take a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the issuance of a special one-day wine and malt beverages license to Vitamin C Brewing for the New Year's bonfire at Weir River Farm to be held on Saturday, January 10th, 2026, from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Second.
All those in favor, Julie?
Aye.
Liz?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Motion carries unanimously. Good luck with your event. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Next
you.
item on the agenda is to consider the application for multiple amendments, change of officers, stock and ownership interest, pledge of license, and change of manager by Amelia Ruth Corporation, doing business as Main Street Market and Spirits, 484 Main Street, Hingham. Do we have Attorney Sullivan with us? Hey, Greg, good evening. Good to see you again. Didn't see you over there.
Chairman, members of the board.
Just state your name and position for the record, Greg.
Gregory Sullivan, attorney for Amelia Ruth Corp.
Excellent.
And what we have is, although it's a 20-something page application, it's really substituting Falguni Shah, who's here before the board with her husband, for Victoria Patel, who served as the majority shareholder, license manager, et cetera. So Victoria Patel is selling her interest in the corporation to Falguni Shah. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, everything we've had to submit here and with the ABCC. So we're asking for your vote to approve these multiple amendments.
Thank you. I've reviewed the application. Everything looks in order to me, but let me see if there are any questions. Liz, do you have any questions?
It looked complete to me. Tom, any concerns or?
No concerns. Yep.
Okay, I have no other questions.
Julie, any questions?
No questions.
Any members of the public have any questions or comments? All right, seeing none, I would take a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the request of Amelia Ruth Corporation doing business as Main Street Market and Spirits, 484 Main Street, Hingham, for a change of manager, change of officers, directors, change of ownership interest, change of stock interest, and pledge of license in accordance with the application for multiple amendments filed on November 17, 2025, subject to the approval of the Alcoholic Beverages Control Commission.
Second.
All those in favor, Liz?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
I'm also an aye. Motion carries unanimously. Best of luck. Good luck to you, folks.
Thank you all very much.
Seeing you,
Good to see
Greg.
you.
Good night.
Take care. All right, next item on the agenda is to designate Assistant Town Administrator for Finance, Katie Dugan, as an authorized user of the Plymouth County ARPA Plan portal to prepare applications on behalf of the town. Tom, do you want to take this one? Tell us.
Sure, this is a requirement of the ARPA program for filing purposes that we have a designated person in town for this purpose. So it had been Brittany for a short period, and now we're just reassigning that assignment to Katie.
Yeah, well, we've made good use of the ARPA funds over time, that's for sure. With
Exactly.
With our sewer project on 3A and
Yep.
very, very important. Is there any ARPA money left?
I'm not sure if
We
we've
can spend-
spent it all, but we've allocated everything. But there might be some as yet unexpended as the invoices come in and stuff.
Great,
But, yeah.
awesome. All right. Liz, any questions?
No questions.
Julie?
No questions.
Any members of the public have any questions? All right, seeing none, I'd take a motion.
I'll make a motion to authorize Assistant Town Administrator for Finance, Katie Dugan, to prepare and enter information into the Plymouth County American Rescue Plan portal in support of one or more applications to Plymouth County for grants, ARPA grants, to be funded from a grant received by Plymouth County under the American Rescue Plan Act.
Second.
All those in favor, Julie?
Aye.
Liz?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well, motion carries unanimously. Katie, congratulations.
Thank you.
You're gonna have to do, right? Great. All right, next item on the agenda is preliminary next item on the agenda is the FY25 fund balance memo. Tom, you gonna lead us off? Or?
Sure. So annually, as we get into this time of year, beginning the budget process and the warrant process, we have several routine matters that we have to deal with. Two of our kind of core documents that we prepare as to inform the budget process annually is the fund balance memo and the financial forecast. Katie has been working on this, both with Brittany as well as Michelle has been helpful bringing Katie up to speed. But she is now a resident expert on all things fund balance memo and financial forecast. So I'm going to let her walk us through these documents, but we're here for questions afterwards if you have any.
Great. So thank you. The fund balance memo that you have in front of you is based on the ACFR, the Annual Comprehensive Financial Report. So the starting point for all of the numbers in this document are that grounding financial document that you approved in December. The important number to start with on this memo is the total fund balance of $57.77 million. That is the fund balance that is in the ACFR. And the fund balance memo takes that fund balance and splits it into a number of categories that the town of Hingham over time has designated to further understand what is available and what is considered either restricted, committed, assigned, or unassigned. In terms of the restricted, committed, and assigned, those are just different ways of saying the fact that the town of Hingham or through our financial policies, we've designated that those funds have an explicit purpose or are going to be called on for explicit expenditures, and as a result, they're not available. So we have a total fund balance of 57.77 million, of which 38.9 million is considered unassigned. And that is great news. Just as a point of reference, last year, the unassigned balance was actually 39.8 million, so it's relatively stable year over year. From there, the town of Hingham has a financial policy to further look at what is the excess unassigned. And so the financial policy says that 16 to 20% of the unassigned fund balance will be restricted. So that's the math that you see at the bottom of the fund memo that basically says that 20% of our total annual expenditures is set aside and considered restricted, leaving us an excess unassigned balance of $11.3 million. As Tom alluded to, this is great news for the town of Hingham. This is the amount of funds that are available to further appropriate and invest strategically in the community. As a reference point, last year, the excess unassigned fund balance was $14.3 million. It has dropped slightly, but that is no surprise because we actually did make a number of strategic investments at annual town meeting. We also had some reductions in the level of investment income that we had as a community. So the drop from 14.3 to 11.3 is expected, but still leaves the community with a healthy balance to consider for investment.
Great. Anything else, Tom?
Nope, not on the fund balance bill.
All right, fantastic. 11.3, that's a good place.
It is a great place.
Julie, any questions?
No, well, first I want to give my thanks to you, Katie, for coming to Hingham, jumping right in, and tackling a very, very complicated process of coming to these numbers. So just thank you for your hard work on this.
Yeah.
Years ago, when I was on the advisory committee, I remember it was a really big deal when this memo came out, and advisory committee will have an opportunity tonight to really get into the details with you. So thank you. And for the excess unassigned fund balance, I look forward to having conversations about ways that we can invest in our community with these dollars as we think is the prudent thing to do. So, thank you.
If there's any questions or
Great.
comments?
Well, I just want to reiterate what Julie said. Thank you, Katie, so much for all your hard work from day one. I think before your official day one, you started working on this, so.
Yes, it was.
Appreciate that. And I think this is good news in terms of the unassigned fund balance, what we have, still following very closely our financial policy. And even though it is less than last year, as you said, it's expected and still healthy. It's very much, obviously, the investment income we have no control over, but the lower level of departmental turnbacks at year end and an increase in capital expenditures is very much aligned with how we have tried to be more strategic about budgeting, forecasting. So I think, that we're getting to a place where that's more accurate, which is good news. So I look forward to, further discussing how best to use this strategically going forward. But again, thank you for all the work on this.
Any members of the public have any questions, comments? All right, not seeing any. Okay, next item on the agenda is a preliminary FY '27 financial forecast. So Tom, Katie, I'll turn back over to you.
So same intro, Katie's been working on this document for a while. It's now ready to roll. We did hold a forecast group meeting with the school department leadership earlier, in the AdCom leadership earlier this week, and we're now rolling it out. This is our first of several iterations. I remind everybody, this is the first version 1. There will be at least 3, if not 4, before we're done. So this is an evolving document.
Yeah.
Katie?
Great. So just to sort of set the stage, so things that have been updated in this 5-year forecast, obviously we updated for FY25 actuals. The FY26 estimate remains the same that you saw at annual town meeting in the warrant. And then obviously we've put in new numbers for FY27 and shown a 4-year forecast beyond that. In terms of what I'd like to call your attention to, so one of the important things that got updated in the forecast was new growth. And we had a healthy new growth number for FY26 that has led us to slightly adjust new growth going forward. Historically, I think Hingham has shown $650,000 in terms of the new growth. We've upped that slightly based on run rates that we've seen post-COVID in terms of the bread and butter kinds of new growth that you see in residential housing in the town of Hingham. In terms of drawing your attention to really the punchline on all of this, at this point in the process, at the bottom of the document, you'll see that there is a shortfall currently of $1.1 million. And that is pretty typical for where we are at this point in the process. This is sort of our first roll-up based on what we're seeing in the overall draft operating budgets, along with what we're seeing in terms of our sources of revenue. And what I would say in terms of the levers to close that gap, right now we have flat state aid. We have not seen anything released from the governor or the state, and so we expect at the end of January to get the first view into how the state is going to allocate state aid. So we are hopeful that we will see a modest increase above what we're projecting flat here that will help us close that gap of $1.1 million. In addition to that, we have flat local receipts as it relates to motor vehicles. And again, we're early in the process of beginning to collect motor vehicle receipts for fiscal 26. We'll have a better sense as we go through the process, and we expect to be able to up the forecast in terms of where the motor vehicles receipts will land as a source of revenue. And then there's a couple expense items that we're still waiting on additional information from. One of the big ones is healthcare. We have an estimate in the forecast document right now, which is extremely conservative, showing a 12% increase year over year in terms of premiums. We have a wide range of guidance from GIC right now in terms of premium increases, but we'll have a final number from them by the beginning of March that we hope to be able to show improvement on relative to what we're showing in the forecast to further help to close the gap. So at the end of the day, even though we're showing a $1.1 million shortfall, we would expect to be able to shrink that through working on some of the numbers I just alluded to over the next 6 to 8 weeks to be able to get to hopefully a shortfall of around $300,000 to $400,000, which is where we were last year. And we do have additional levers thanks to the great strategic planning that was done in terms of having some stabilization funds and having some conservative financial policies that allow us to close that gap as we head into annual town meeting.
Great. Well, thank you, Katie. That 1.1 at this point in the process is a pretty strong position. I mean, there's been years when it's been like 2.5, more than 2.5. So that's a pretty good number for this point. And as you noted, motor vehicle excise tax money will start coming in this month, which will be helpful at all. I also have some good news for you. I spoke with Senator O'Connor a couple of weeks ago. He told me to anticipate an increase in state aid, maybe 1% or 2%. That's going to help us all. That's also going to help. So that's going to be good news. So with that, let me turn it over to Julie, see if you have any questions. I'll do that in a second.
So for the state aid, we haven't heard yet. Does anyone have any idea of when we would hear about that potential increase?
He didn't tell me when. He just said he's optimistic the governor's going to increase it by 1% or 2%.
We usually get some sort of indication at the MMA conference at the end of January.
Okay. And then did you say already, Katie, I'm sorry if I'm asking this and you already said it, but the motor vehicle excise tax, did you have an idea of when you'll get closer to?
So we'll have early indications in terms of what the receipts look like in the first batch that comes out in January. And that will give us an indication of where the FY26 receipts are trending.
Okay, great. And like you mentioned, it's good to see that this number isn't really that bad at this point in the process, so that's good, and that we have other levers that we can put to use. And really, this number is good considering growth controls, so that's good. Yeah, thank you.
Great. Liz, any questions?
Excellent. Well, thank you, Katie, again for all the work and the explanation. I appreciate this is the first version, and we'll have this conversation several times. How often is the forecast group meeting?
We meet every time we have a new iteration, we call the group together in advance of the public release.
Okay,
Just had our first one yesterday, actually.
great. And the local receipts, I know, Katie, you mentioned it's like, it's relatively flat. And am I reading this correctly, that we're actually forecasting right now 77% of the FY '25 actuals?
That is correct, but you have to take into account the fact that investment income is one of those things that it's not in our control, in the sense that we borrow because we have projects that we're looking to complete. And over the last several years, there's been some significant borrowings for investments in public safety and in Foster that's resulted in cash balances that have generated some large investment income returns. So while in the past there might have been a tighter correlation between FY25 and FY27, right now there isn't, because we've had those significant years of investment income in 24 and 25. And the approach that we've taken for 27 is similar to what we did for 26, which is not forecast upside from investment income. Again, those balances are, being used actively. We just don't necessarily control the timeline of how the cash goes out in terms of expenditures. And the size of the balances that we're carrying are much smaller than we were several years ago. I can tell you that the year-to-date run rate on investment income has us trending into about $2 million, which is half of what we saw last year. And if you sort of think forward to where we may be for fiscal 27, you could probably have it again. So that's how we're thinking about that correlation.
Okay, that's helpful, thank you.
Any members of the public have any questions or comments about this agenda item? Go ahead. Yeah, name and address. And just to let everybody know of the rules, we have 2 minutes on public speaking. I'm going to hold people to the 2 minutes tonight. We have a lot of people in the audience, but Anita, if you could state your name and address. Please.
Yes, Anita Ryan, 37 Baker Hill Drive. Thank you very much for that presentation. I'm very focusing on that bottom number in the right-hand corner. Is that projecting a shortfall, if I'm reading it right, of close to 10 million?
That is correct.
Okay. And is that in 2031, that's our projection?
It's 2031, yes.
Okay. So at that level, are you expecting the need for an override with that shortfall?
Do you want me to take that, Bill?
Sure.
So a couple of years ago, we had presented, when we did the override 3 years ago, we had anticipated then and told the town that we would likely need another override in FY28 at the end of the MOU when that expires. It's still being evaluated as to what the right year to do that override is, but that's not this number is not directly driving that decision. This number every year, 5 years out, is a wild guess. A wild estimate, significant. Every year, this number becomes more and more reasonable. And I remind everybody that this document is not a question of if we balance, it's a question of when we balance. We are mandated by law to have a balanced budget every year, so we always will.
Thank you.
You bet.
Okay, thank you. Karen, come on up.
Karen Johnson, 16 Berkeley Circle. 2 quick questions. One, I wondered if you could provide just a little more insight on the new growth number. And then the other is the GIC rates. Do we really feel comfortable carrying it where we're carrying it, and what's the likely timing? And I guess, in terms of evaluating the prudence of our rates, like what are other towns projecting for GIC?
So I can take the GIC one quickly. We have engaged a consultant for a different purpose for GIC rate discussions right now, and they're advising us that we're likely to hear from the GIC again sometime in January of what their percentage rate increase is. Right now, the early projections were 12%. Frankly, they said anywhere between, I think, 5 and 15. So we went with 12. He said 12 was the right number to budget for. That likely will change. We're hoping it changes in downward, not upward. But we're comfortable with the 12. We feel like it's a conservative approach for this stage in the forecasting.
In terms of new growth, are you looking at historical or are you looking at forecasted future? Sorry. Yeah, sorry.
Optimistically so.
Yeah, sorry.
No, I just, again, Karen Johnson, 16 Berkeley Circle. I know that we have been very conservative in new growth, and so
Yeah.
to see that little bump up, I know we've carried it flat, we were carrying it lower.
Yep.
You know, and it's all the puts and takes that get you to feeling confident about the bottom line. So
Yeah.
you sort of said, this was sort of bread and butter residential development. I know the board over the long haul has thought about other avenues of new development, like
Correct.
commercial development and the like. So I just was wondering if you could, is it building permits, is it renovation, is it tear downs and reconstruction of bigger homes? Like, could you just give me a sense of what's going on?
So, so when you look at the $700,000, that's really predicated based on residential construction in town, and whether that's a combination of, tear downs and new homes being construction or significant remodels. That is the bread and butter number that I'm referring to. And if you see a number that, that is higher than $1 million, that generally indicates in that year that there was a significant change in our commercial new growth. As an example, in fiscal '26, we're showing a $1.3 million, and that's because of the Linden Ponds expansion. And so the approach that we've taken in terms of forecasting new growth is that we forecast a baseline, which is that $700,000 that relates to residential. We know that there are commercial opportunities that will come to fruition, but pinpointing when they're going to happen and exactly how they're going to happen in terms of timing, because not all of the new growth in terms of a commercial construction necessarily comes in a single year. It could be spread out over a couple years. And so in talking with the assessor, she's really the one that does a lot of the hard work in terms of coming up with what is a good baseline model. She did mention that going forward, there are projects like Riverstone that are coming up in the foreseeable future that will likely cause us to have, a uptick in that particular year when the construction comes to fruition. But instead of trying to guess when that uptick is going to happen, we've taken a more conservative approach and just forecasting the baseline. For those that are interested, there is a division of local services analytics gateway that's available to all residents, and you can go in, and if you search DLS and new growth, you can see like 20-year history of how Hingham's new growth has come in. And you'll see in that data what I'm talking about in terms of baseline number, and then you'll see the years where there's been larger construction projects that have come in commercially that have positively impacted new growth.
And just a little anecdote as well. Every couple of meetings or so, Art gives us a presentation on the projects he's working on down in South Hingham and around Bristol's or A.W. Perry and all these other project sites, potential project sites. This is why. The new growth number, that is what will be benefited from significant new commercial growth, should we be able to swing that here in the future. But that's, that's in the out years, but nonetheless, that's why he's doing what he's doing.
New growth money would definitely help
Yes, it would.
with everything going on. Any other questions or comments? Anybody in the audience? Art, can you check on the Zoom? Okay, not seeing anybody. Thank you, Katie. Good work. I know you put a lot of time
Oh, I
into it.
see.
Oh, here we go. Go ahead.
Christine.
All right, Christine, name and address.
Hi, everybody. It's Christine Smith, 2 Park Circle. Thank you for the presentation. Just a question about debt service, because I know it doesn't show as a line item, but if you could speak to that a little bit. I live in Crow Point, which is booming, and everybody just got their tax bills, which went up fairly significantly because the assessed values went so high. So nice from a property, owner perspective, but not so nice when you get your tax bill. We have a low tax rate, but a lot of the discussion that I've been involved with is what is the debt service, and has all of the debt for Foster, police, fire, has everything hit? So is this what we're looking at until the next sort of big project gets approved? Thank you.
Do you know offhand?
So On the Art has brought up the subsequent page, which actually, if you can roll to the page 2, you'll actually see that in this document, there is a forecast for debt service. And so the second page really breaks out in further detail Article 6 that you see in your warrant every year. And you'll see the debt service numbers right there in terms of excluded and non-excluded debt. But to answer Christine's question directly, what we've got in here are the current debt service numbers, which reflects all of the debt that has been borrowed by the town of Hingham. We're going through the borrowing process right now. We're rolling over a portion of our anticipated bond anticipatory notes, which are one-year notes, and we are issuing a small amount of new debt related to previous authorizations. So, to sort of broadly categorize, as it relates to foster and public safety, the borrowings from those are complete or largely complete. We are not taking out any new money in terms of borrowings against either of those this year. We do have prior authorizations for work for water, for rec, and for sewer, but those are largely going to be absorbed by, at least those water, sewer, and rec ones are going to be absorbed by the enterprise fund. So there isn't going to be a new major impact in terms of excluded debt that's going to be seen in the forecast going forward.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Can I ask a follow-up?
Sure, yeah, of course.
Katie, on page 2, you have the debt service, and can you explain how the excluded debt, the 11.9 million forecast for 27, how that is impacted, that number? You're borrowing that, you're paying that debt service on borrowing, but then when we have the stabilization fund from Foster and PSF, the CPCDS, how, and this year it's forecast for $2.3 million. Can you explain how that comes into play with
Yeah,
that
so so the way that comes into play with the CPCDS stabilization fund is as an incremental revenue source. So we have the full forecasted debt service on page 2, which rolls to a total appropriation required by the town of $170 million, which you see come up on page 1 under appropriations. But there is an offset in terms of incremental, quote-unquote, sources or revenue that comes in from that stabilization fund. So that's one of the strategic things that the town Hingham has done in order to offset a part of the burden in terms of the excluded debt that's impacting the residents.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. All right, next item on the agenda is a design and cost of the new Center for Active Living update. I believe we have Chris Wanty with us and our OPM, Dan Pilata. Come on up and join us at the table, please. All right, Chris, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much. Happy New Year, everybody. So we're here today to give everybody an update on the design development of the Center for Active Living.
I'm sorry, before we start.
Sure.
I noticed that there's a quorum of the advisory committee. Carol, do you want to call your meeting to order?
Sorry, well,
Yeah.
So call the meeting of the advisory committee and adopt the language previously given by the chair of the school board.
Great, thank you. I'm sorry to interrupt, go ahead.
All good. So we have an agenda here up. This is basically what we wanted to cover today. Not a lot of slides compared to some of our other presentations, but wanted to talk very quickly about schedule, where we are, where we've been, where we are, where we're going. Give an update on the project costs. We've just finished design development, and we have an updated estimate, so we want to review that. Talk about some high-level design updates that we've been making along the way, and then just talk about some next steps. So if you can go to the next slide. So here's the where we are in the current schedule. You see in gray what we've done in the past to date. It basically shows the last time we were in front of the select board here was in September. We reviewed the completed schematic design estimate. And since then, we've been working on design development, which is the next phase of design. We've also been working with town staff to get our planning and zoning permit application submitted. So that was submitted.
Someone to tell us the smart girls, so the smart girls, this is happening while texting. And Mary's on the, Mary.
Yeah, can you mute Christine?
There you go.
Oh, what's coming up is
There we go, okay, go ahead, all right.
Perfect.
That was
A little distracting,
really
sorry. So, yeah, as I was saying, planning and zoning, we've submitted the permit in December. We are currently, obviously, in January 2026 here to present our estimated design development cost. And if you can go to your next slide, I wanted to talk specifically about the costs. So just a quick recap of where we've been. This was the overall project cost estimate we provided at town meeting in 2025 with all the breakdown pieces. So this hasn't changed from way back when in terms of the breakdown. If you go to the next slide, this was what we presented in September. Again, same format, trying to just show the comparison. We've gone from 34 to 30.7. And going to the updated design development slide, which is the next slide, we are down to 29.9. So again, the breakdown is more or less the same. Some numbers have gone up a little bit, some numbers have gone down a little bit, but the overall project cost, we're sitting at about 29.9 as of today. So driving this down slightly, little by little, was the goal. We're still working on that. As we might have presented last go-around, this estimate was developed by two separate third-party estimators. We actually completed what we call a reconciliation meeting earlier today. So a pretty quick turnaround between getting those estimators together in a room, reviewing it, and coming up with what we call a reconciled number. So the construction cost right there is hot off the press as of this afternoon, directly to the slide you see here. We have some further developments. I can't quite read it on the bottom there, but you can kind of see what the off-site construction in Bear Cove Park Drive, what that $400,000 does include and what it doesn't include. The major component of that currently is the sewer line, bringing the sewer line down from the DPW location roughly on the road there down to our site, in addition to some simple utility connections for our project. But that does not include any paving for the drive, any restriping of any parking at the gate of Bear Cove entry, the new water line, which is going to feed a new fire hydrant and hydration station down at the gate. All that stuff has been excluded from the number that we're currently showing here, just so that everybody is aware what's not and what is in this number. If you go to the next slide, these are just some high level, just wanted to talk about things that we work on, things that we're developing. Along the way, we're working on simplifying the structural systems. During schematic design, we really only have architectural drawings. We haven't really developed structural drawings, mechanical drawings, electrical drawings. So in design development, these are some of the things that we're really, trying to work on and developing. So when you see shifts in numbers, it's mainly about refining of the major design systems in the building and really getting those things fine-tuned. So talking about the structural systems, reviewing with the building committee the material palette for the building, both inside the building and to the exterior of the building. Mechanical systems obviously are a large cost, so making sure those are right size and we have all the correct components. Making sure that the envelope is designed appropriately in terms of daylighting, where the windows are located, making sure we don't have glare issues. It all kind of adds up to the overall cost of this thing. So that's, a big piece of a lot of the changes in the cost. Same thing with parking. We modified some of the parking areas on the site in addition to some other site components, stormwater related, some of the hardscape components, some of the outdoor activity spaces, just trying to make things simpler and less expensive. So those are some of the high level design things that we've been working on. If you go to the next slide for me real quick. So these are the upcoming activities that Dan and I will be endeavoring on here. We have planning and zoning hearings are going to begin in January, hopefully. We believe that next week will be our first hearing. We believe that it's going to be a joint meeting, but we haven't received any confirmation of that, so we have it scheduled in tentatively for next week. Continuing on, past design development is what we call construction documents. where we're putting together documents that are ready for a contractor to bid. So currently in the schedule, we're shooting for the beginning of March. I believe March 6th is the date that we're shooting for, to get our drawings on the street for contractors to actually start to look at and start to put prices on. We anticipate a roughly 6-week schedule for contractors to bid on the project, which will put us in mid-April, where we would have contractor bids in hand, and then in turn would turn around and be voting on the project in late April. So that is a general overview of kind of the major next steps. The one piece I didn't include in here, which Dan will talk about right now, is the pre-qualification process for the contractor. So if you want to just mention that process real quick.
Thank you, Chris. So this being a 149 project exceeding $10 million, there's a pre-qualification process. A bidder just can't come in off the street and bid on your project. They have to be pre-qualified. That pre-qualification process started weeks ago, and we'll be receiving the pre-qualification packages on Wednesday. The pre-qualification committee, which consists of a member of the OPM team, a member of the designer team, and 2 members of the town of Hingham, will review the packages and determine the adequate bidders that can bid on the project. We seem to have received a pretty good showing of contractors in the major trades, which is always good for bidding numbers, so we're pretty happy about that. We'll see what we get on Wednesday, and we'll march forward.
So with that, I think that was the crux of what we wanted to cover. It was mainly to show the updated design development estimate for everybody, to see kind of how we're trending from a cost standpoint, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Thanks for the presentation. Appreciate it. Dan, do you see that number coming out at all?
The overall number?
Yeah.
Well, we're working on it every day, Mr. Chairman. You know, it came down between SD and DD. We expect it to come down a little more between DD and 50% CD, and we expect the bid to be a little bit smaller than that. The number that we receive from the estimators is not the bid that we expect, it's the 3rd bid that we expect. So we expect that if there's 5 bids, the number in the estimate would be in the middle. So we're expecting the numbers to slowly creep down, and they have. I mean, it's what we said would happen in September, and we're continuing to do that. Chris and I are in constant contact back and forth on every detail of this building to try and make it as simplified as possible, so that the building can go together easier, so that we get better bids. So from a construction standpoint, we expect it to come down just a little bit more.
Great, thank you. All right, Liz, do you have any questions or comments?
Well, thank you for the presentation, and I know a lot of work has happened since the last time you were here. Can you just highlight some of the things that have changed, just so people have an idea?
So if you flip to the, the next one, the design update slide. So, just kind of going down the list here, we reduced a lot of the foundation requirements, so we've shrunk. And just to give a caveat to a lot of this stuff, this isn't major design changes. It's not like we took any of the spaces. Basically, the floor plan that you've seen and the site plan that you've seen, I'll mention a couple of ones that you might want to be notified of, but these are all design development of the systems. So we're early on in schematic design, we're making a lot of assumptions because we haven't thought through every single little detail yet. So we make some assumptions, we get into the detail of things like the structural grid and the foundation, we oversize things to make sure that we're covered, and then during design development, things get a little bit smaller, things get a little bit tighter, they get more streamlined, things get a little bit simpler from a construction standpoint. So those types of things just across the board, mechanical system right sizing, that one, we went in SD from a fan coil system to a VRF system. So again, it's kind of detail and kind of wonky stuff. Talking about materials, we had a building committee meeting where we talked about a bunch of options for what the exterior of the building is, what the interior, how much tile is in the bathroom, what are the ceilings like, how much lighting do we need, what kind of lighting do we need. So they're not necessarily changes, they're more fine tuning and updating from our early on assumptions that we really didn't have a chance to review with a lot of people. It's more of, picking things and fine tuning those things. The one that I should mention that will look different if you're looking at the floor plan or the site plan is the parking area modifications. We had some conversations with the staff, the town staff, prior to our applying for this site permitting, and they notified us that the parking was above their bylaws. So we discussed that internally with the development team and decided that it was in our best interest to reduce the parking as part of the permitting process. But the design currently is still accommodating all of the parking that we originally planned for. What I mean by that is currently, the parking that we removed is just a lawn area, so that, after year one, after year two, once the use of the building is understood and the trends are starting to, be clear, and we think in the reality of how many people we think are going to use this building comes true, the parking change, you could just basically take the lawn area and turn it into a parking area with no modifications to stormwater. It's a fairly simple, quick, low-cost add of parking in the future. So it's not like we got to take anything else down and add a bunch of, catch basins and stormwater mitigations. It's just take a lawn area, pave it. We've made all the provisions for future paving. So that was one thing. Another one on the parking area, we had called for pervious paving in all of the parking spots, but again, that was going to complicate the permitting process. It started to turn into a maintenance issue because DPW has more work needs to vacuum all the pervious paving in order for it to function, allow the water to drain through it, and it had the kind of added benefit of lowering the cost. So those were some of the things. So I know that's not specifically plan related on changes on what the plan looks like, but they're more design systems changes along the way.
Sure, okay. And do you expect those designs, the system design to change once you have the bids or more people involved?
Design development, we have a pretty good grasp on the systems.
Okay.
I think where we expect things to get tighter is the contingencies. There's design contingencies in these estimates because they're covering things that we haven't thought of. So the design contingency during schematic design was, I believe it was 8, 9%, 12%. Yeah, so it's a pretty large number because we don't know what we don't know at that stage. Design development, we get a lot more information on the drawings and we have a better idea of what all the systems are. So that design contingency comes down quite a bit. Right now, I believe it's over $1 million in this cost estimate. It's just design contingencies. The goal from the design team is to not touch that contingency and to, the estimator said we had a pretty good set of drawings. So we're pretty confident in where the design contingency is that we could probably eat away at that without changing a lot on the design. We feel like we can continue to chip away at the cost estimate. But as Dan said, we're going to continue to look at the design and try to figure out as many ways to simplify things to, make this building as efficient as possible. And the site and the building, they kind of, go hand in hand.
Sure, so the 3.3 million listed under soft costs, you're saying about 1 million of that is contingency?
So if you go back to that slide real quick. So there's actually 2 buckets of contingency.
Okay.
And I can touch on that real quick.
That's where I was going, okay.
Yep. So soft costs, there's what's called construction contingency, which we won't touch. That will always be in the project because things happen during construction, which we need to be ready for. Specifically, big site surprises, which we've done borings, we've investigated the site as much as we can, but stuff happens, so we just try to, accommodate for it. Within the construction cost number that we have there, the 26.5 and change, that has design contingency in there that ultimately, when bids come in, there'll be no such thing as a design contingency. The drawings are done, the design is done, there'll be no contingency at that point. So there's $1 million in change in our current estimate that, like I said, there'll be no design contingency once the construction bids come in. That number disappears. So the ideal would be that number disappears and our number doesn't go up at all besides that, but that's not reality. We just hope to do as best we can along the way. So we will have a contingency, but it's not going to be a design contingency when the bids come in.
Okay, thank you.
Great, Julie, any questions?
Yeah, since we got this information this afternoon, it's a lot to take in, and but thank you, Chris and Dan, for your hard work on this process over the last month or so. I do have a question. So I don't have all my questions formed yet because this is still going through it, but you had mentioned, Dan, about some refinement maybe finding some efficiencies, places where you expect the price to go down? And in what areas besides, well, like what you were just talking about, Chris, design contingency maybe going down? Can you cite any other areas?
As we go through the process from schematic design to design development to construction documents, it's schematic design, it was the pretty pictures we brought in, you saw the layout, everyone wanted to know whether we could move this room this way, that way, and so on and so forth. That gives us a level of comfort at that level. When we get to design development, we start seeing does the HVAC system really fit in that room? Can we get the ductwork down the ceiling? Can we do all those type of things? Those things start to come together. When we get to the construction documents, the efficiencies are gonna come in the materials that are chosen that have 3 or more vendors. So under Mass General laws, we have to have 3 vendors that are similar quality so that there's a broad spectrum of available materials for this building in every piece that goes in the building, whether it's concrete, whether it's steel, whether it's wood. We have to have the ability to have vendors have options on different ways of purchasing it. We're working on all of those right now, because some of the things in the building, you look at it and you're like, where are we gonna get what Chris drew? So we'll refine those and get it to a point where we found 3 vendors that will work on that. So we'll be working on that. That will bring an efficiency to the bidding process. It's not something that I can say, okay, we're gonna save $1,200 by changing a light fixture. We're gonna save $1,200 because we're giving you the ability to buy 3 different brands, and the 3 different brands are gonna bid against each other on bid day and give their numbers to the electrician. So that's the kind of thing that we're working on between now and the end of documents. So as he's putting the documents together, we're reviewing those specifications. And the specification booklet's this thick when we're done. So we have to make sure that every single piece that goes in this building, we have that ability. And I know it's a broad statement, but that's really what we're talking about. Today, when we went through the reconciliation, we talked a lot about the site. How can we recycle some of the material on the site? We know we're gonna encounter some pretty good sized boulders. And, the designer has a plan to, not break the boulders up and move them off-site, but use the boulders as landscape features, roll them to the side and then place them properly to make it part of the design. So those type of things are the type of things that we're talking about when we talk about efficiencies.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have for now.
All right, anticipating some public comment. Sorry, Carol, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say,
Yeah.
thank you for the opportunity to hear this, but, and sorry for the disruption, but we're gonna take our leave at this point.
Great. Do you need to adjourn? Or, no, you're gonna move over, okay, great. All right, thanks for joining us tonight,
Thank you very
AdCom.
much.
Have a good night. Take care, thank you.
See you later.
Well, that cleared out the room a little bit, didn't it? Go ahead. You want to ask a question?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on, yeah, you bet. All right, so for public comment, folks, you're welcome to engage in public comment, questions, or commentary. Going to hold everybody to the 2 minutes tonight, as I said earlier. Going to ask you to speak from the lectern, state your name and address, and go ahead and ask away. I'll start with the room first, and then I'll move over to the Zoom. But Karen, go ahead.
I think I should stop closer. You can. I am.
We can be further.
Karen Johnson, 16 Berkeley Circle. My question is really a process point. I'm just really concerned about, and I understand it's under no one's real control, but we're really bumping up against town meeting without a number. So if town meeting's the 28th this year, April 28th, right? 27th. And the calendar that was put up before indicated a number by late April. I'm just wondering, in terms of our typical culture of socializing the cost of these major projects, what you're thinking about, and I guess what the advisory committee, I'll go ask them too, is thinking about in terms of process, given the tight timeframe.
Okay.
Want me to take it?
Yeah, go ahead. We talked
Sure.
about it.
So
Go ahead.
when we did public safety, we went to town meeting with a quote. not a quote, I'm sorry, with an estimate. So we're hoping, we anticipate AdCom and the Select Board having these estimates refined as they hopefully will be as we go through this process in advance of any votes of support or not support for the project. We anticipate having a known number ahead of town meeting, a week or two ahead of town meeting, that we will be able to put into into a supplemental.
Supplement.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's call it an insert, a supplemental.
Okay. So it'd be, sort of as we move forward through the process, there'll be sort of a not-to-exceed concept?
Most likely, that's what the Select Board, or AdCom will want to do on their motion. Obviously, I don't know exactly what they're going to want to do, but I anticipate it's going to be something like that.
Okay,
Yeah.
so, because I had heard some notion of a special town meeting, and so you're not thinking you need to move in that direction. But I guess that's going to assume the bid process is successful and the like.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have the estimates, and we go to print with the warrant on March 30th, so we know we won't have a quote by then.
Right.
So the warrant will be set and ready to go. If we can get a supplement put together with a known number, that's the goal.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Great, thank you, Karen. Good question. Anyone else in the room? Go ahead, yeah. Go ahead.
Tricia Barnes, 9 Whiting Lane. So how are you going to bring this to town meeting and already push a vote from the citizens of the town if you don't have a final number what it's going to cost? And my second question is there any way in which this doesn't happen, or is this absolutely happening, this whole project? Because I'm just catching up, so forgive me, but I'm just trying to figure out why we're still not renovating this building into the senior center like we voted on a couple years ago.
Yeah, so I get, the plan all along was to try to have it here. That was studied by the building committee for about a year or so.
Right.
It was debated, discussed, and it wasn't feasible. There were issues with parking. When we looked at alternatives to parking to include probably a parking lot on the field, other parking options, there were objections by butters, by individuals involved with the sports program. So it just wasn't feasible. There were also costs that would have, significant costs to renovate the building as well. So that was studied, it was advocated for by the chairman of the building committee. Ultimately, the committee came up with a pretty good study indicating that was not a good option for this project. So I guess that answers your question about why not this building. In terms of the process going forward and having a town meeting, I'm anticipating a select board discussion and vote on the project next Tuesday night. The warrant closes on January 20th. Then it goes over to the advisory committee for a recommendation on the article. The advisory committee can vote in favor of the article or no action, and ultimately it'll be decided on the 28th by town meeting.
Got you. So if the building committee or people decided that it wasn't feasible, why was it put on the warrant in contingency with the police station build out that would be the case, that the senior center would be built out here where the police station vacated?
Yeah, so that wasn't on the warrant. The 3 years ago, that was not on the warrant. That vote was simply to, I think the vote you're referring to is was a request for money to build a public safety facility,
Right.
as well as the Foster School. There was no mention of that being the course of action for that. I think that was always something we wanted to look at, and we studied it for, again, about a year.
I mean, that's how it was
deemed
pitched.
feasible. Well, it was discussed. It was a course of action. I think a lot of people wanted that to happen, including myself, but it ended up not really coming to fruition.
Okay, and are those reports public? Are they?
Yeah, there's actually a really good feasibility study that the building committee put on, I think it's on the Center for Active Living website.
Okay.
And Tricia, if you want, I can try to send you the link too.
Awesome.
It's a really good read. I
Okay.
think it's really helpful. Because on your question, a lot of people have that same question, so I'm happy to send it to you and highlight where people can find it and take a look at it.
Okay, appreciate it.
Great, thank you, Tricia. Yeah.
Can I just add that we had a meeting, I think it was in November. Do you remember the meeting that we went and we discussed and reviewed the location, the proposed location for the Center of Active Living and the sort of the history of sites that were considered, including Town Hall, and then how we settled on the Bear Cove Park site. So I think it was in November, though.
It was November,
So there's a
yeah.
recording of that meeting that we could tip you off at least to the date that you can pull that up so they can
Yeah.
catch you up exactly about the presentation and the conversation that we had then that might be helpful.
Thank you.
And Julie, that's a great point. And that meeting, we talked about, why not town hall? Why not the driving range at the high school? Why not some other locations? And we did a pretty deep dive with our town real estate council into some of the concerns and issues with those other areas and why we landed on this current one. But great question, thank you. Anyone else? Go ahead, Nita. Just name and address in 2 minutes.
Thank you. Yep, Anita Ryan, 37 Baker Hill Drive. I'm going to actually ask questions. The public safety facility, what was the difference between the estimate and the final cost?
I don't have that number in front of me.
Okay. And then, next question, impervious. You mentioned initially the plan was for impervious.
The plan was for pervious. We changed to impervious.
Yes, thank you. Why was the initial plan for pervious?
So the initial plan for pervious was just at the parking spaces, and it was just to help try to drive down the cost of the stormwater infiltration system. Ultimately, the cost savings didn't outweigh the maintenance requirements that was going to be kind of over time and the operating expenses that it was going to take. So we ultimately decided to remove that from the project. There were some other permitting issues that we would have run into, but it was mainly the fact that the cost savings wasn't as great as the overall operating expenses on the stormwater system. But that was the main reason why it was included, was to try to limit the stormwater design.
Thanks. And you mentioned a parking was above the bylaws. Can you explain what you mean by that?
So technically there's no senior center building type in the bylaws. So we were under the assumption that once we started talking to the town staff, that they would actually identify and help us determine what the parking requirement was going to be per the bylaws. So we had always been, during schematic design, saying this is what we think the actual parking requirement needs to be based on the size of the building. And in discussions with the town staff, we landed on a number of parking spaces that was below what we were proposing all along. So that's what I mean by the town bylaws and with us being above the town bylaws.
Thank you. And then talking about the site costs, because the site costs have changed a little between the September 30th presentation and tonight's, and I would love to just get a better understanding of that. So in September 30th, I saw it as 7.1, and now it's 6.2. Can you explain the difference?
So like we mentioned, there's a lot of fine tuning once we get past schematic design. Schematic design, the drawings are very generic, and I don't like to admit that, but that's just where we are at that stage. So grading is early on, the stormwater design is early on. So the big savings from SD to DD most likely was the stormwater system in general. We went from mostly underground stormwater system, so big tanks essentially underground that are accepting all the stormwater. We designed as much of the green space as possible to be rain gardens. So we actually eliminated like 90% of the underground stormwater systems to basically say all of the stormwater is now being handled above ground with rain gardens and detention basins. That was one big savings. Earthwork, we fine-tuned how much we were proposing to cut and fill on the site, so that just means where we're getting dirt and how we're moving dirt around, and that's very expensive, you know, when you take dirt off-site and you bring dirt on-site. So fine-tuning those numbers, we were able to get that number down quite a bit. So those are probably the two biggest changes. We simplified a lot of the site amenities, so we had a lot of retaining walls, a lot of high-end design pieces like stone veneer on the retaining walls, so we simplified a lot of those items. So those are just some examples, but there are a lot more I could probably point to if I had a chance to list them all out.
Two more questions?
Two more, go ahead, yeah.
Would we save money if we stopped water and not went all the way to the gate? Could we stop water where it's needed for the center and save money with that?
So all of the water is being treated on-site.
No, are you talking the water line?
Water line.
Correct.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
The water line is not a part of our project, so the water line is going to be a project that the town is doing, and we're connecting to the water line. So the park commission has been requesting that hydration station, and the fire department has been requesting a hydrant, to protect the park for a long time. So while we're there digging up the road, it was prudent for us to try and all work together and go down the street together.
Does any other park have a hydration station in town?
In our town, no, but I think other towns do have
Towns do.
hydration stations, yes.
I did
They have
speak
a-
with the Bear Cove Park Committee Chair, and they welcomed the hydration station and a hydrant, and the fire chief welcomed the idea of a hydrant at the gate to the park.
And the last question, future expansion along Bear Cove Park Drive, what is contemplated, if you know, there was a mention of future expansion or future development?
Not that I'm aware of. Where'd you get
I'm
that said
Yeah,
tonight?
we're-
Yeah, it was they were talking about sewer, bringing the sewer line and whether it was big enough to allow for
So the-
future expansion on the
So
road.
the question that you're referring to was at the previous meeting?
Correct.
A building committee member had asked if we're bringing the sewer line down the street, would we be able to accommodate the properties that are going by? And I said, at the time, it hasn't been designed yet, but I would expect that we will design the line to accommodate future connections for those that the sewer line goes by.
So presumably what that means is the fire museum and the model train museum?
Correct.
Those are all my questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nita. Anyone else in the room have any questions or comments? All right, Art, can you bring up the Zoom, please? Okay, Hillary Hosmer. All right, Hillary, if you state your name and address, you have 2 minutes.
My name is Hillary Hosmer. I live at 204 Linden Ponds Way. I have a couple of questions. You answered several of them when you spoke to Anita's questions. When will the costs for the off-site repaving and the new water line be included? Will we vote on them at town meeting?
I can take that. What Dan is saying is that they will not be included in this project. The water line and the paving on that road will be done by the town as a town project for the betterment of the park and providing water down to the park. And this center will be tapping off of the line that goes by the center as we put a new hydrant in at the park gate.
So are we voting on it, or is it?
No, that'll be done as the routine matter out of the Ware River Water System annual operating expenses and the DPW for the paving of the road using the Chapter 90 funds.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I noticed that the pickleball courts don't seem to have any place for a restroom. Will that be one of the things you also connect to?
Yeah, that's not on our agenda tonight. We're not talking about pickleball, so we really can't answer that question.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Anybody else? All right, Judy Sneath, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. This is Judy Sneath. I am at 89 North Street in Hingham. Just two things. This is a great presentation, very informative. I am still very concerned that we're building an enormous facility that we have no evidence that it's actually going to be used. We have Foster School that is not being fully used at all by any stretch. I drive by the new police station very frequently, and that parking lot is empty. So this seems to be like the third in a series of huge buildings that are going to be underutilized, and we're leaving empty buildings in the wake. So I know that we reduced the size by 10%, but every developer I ever saw at the planning board came in with a building that was 10% bigger than what they wanted. So that seems a little bit disingenuous. And so I just hope that the select board shares a little bit of that concern that we are building things that we need to maintain and we are not using them. And then the second point or question is, this water line, I think it's a little bit disingenuous to say that we would have put a water line in to to get a fire hydrant. We're putting the water line in to get the Center for Active Living, and the fire hydrant's going to benefit from that. So it would be nice to see what the cost is, even if it's not going to be wrapped up in this bill, because the town, after all, still pays for it. And I did not see the traffic light at the intersection of Fort Hill Street included in this either, and I assume that means there will be no traffic light, or will there be, and are we also omitting that cost? So,
Judy, thank you.
Thanks for listening.
Go ahead. Want to take the question about the traffic light?
Sure, so a lot there. The traffic light project is actually being contemplated right now as part of a town project as well. That also has been needing to be done for a long time. The rec department has asked for that for years. With the pickleball courts going in there, and now a potential senior center or center for active living being added, and as well as the driving additional traffic into the park, we wanted to make sure that that intersection is as safe as we can make it. So that's happening as part of a town project as well. That the only portion of that you wanted me to answer? Or?
I think she was wondering why it wasn't included or being talked about.
Yeah.
Ginny,
Yeah, I just think it would be nice to see the cost of that and the water, these extra costs. It would be nice to know what they are, since this center is clearly driving the need for those things.
Thank you. Ginny, you want to? Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Hi, Ginny, if you state your name and address, please.
Virginia Blue, 219 Hersey Street. I want to bring us back to the real reason that we're being asked to vote on this. The senior citizens need a home in this town. I think this design team has been very responsive to our questions, to our concerns, and I think they've done an absolutely fantastic job. But I'm telling you that don't forget who you're talking about. You're talking about us. You're talking about a lot of these people over here. We use the senior center. We would use it more if there was parking, if there was room for the programs, if there weren't wait lists for things. I'm telling you, I know that it seems like I'm not taking that into consideration. I am. But I'm also asking you to keep in mind the human cost as well. The senior center will be used. It won't be underutilized. Thank you.
Ginny, thank you. I think we have Peter Goldstein on the line. I saw Peter's hand up. Peter, you still there? Go ahead. Peter, name and address, please, sir.
Peter Goldstein, 44, I'm sorry, let me mute here. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
We can. There's a little background noise, Peter. I'm not sure if that's on our end or yours.
Any better?
It sounds perfect. Go ahead.
Oh, no.
Sorry about that. 44 Belly Road in Hingham. I've been an enthusiastic supporter of the town for many expansion improvement efforts, including recent safety facility and foster school projects. And now that I'm 67, I'm probably part of the senior resident demographic. But I have to say, I do not support the plan to build the new senior center at this time. I think it's a want and not a justified need. I think there are a lot of other things that are higher priority that the town should be spending money on if voters agree to it. There are schools that need upgrade and repair still. The South Fire Station needs upgrade and repair. The maintenance on existing facilities and the required staffing to meet current expanded needs. Maintaining competitive salaries and benefits for all town employees. And as I saw, planning for the predicted funding shortfalls. I think these are all much higher priorities for the town. And I don't think, based on what I know, and I haven't been able to get hard numbers, but I don't think the number of people who are using the existing facility justifies such an expense. The published increase in senior residents, which may be true, should not be used as an indicator of future demand. How do you know any of these seniors that would come into the town or come into that senior demographic would actually use the center? I believe that we should continue using the existing space, including the police station in some form, which would be a less expensive renovation. And it doesn't mean that the senior center needs to expand to the police station. Another group in that building.
All right, Peter, your time has expired. Thank you. Anyone else? Yeah, you can.
Sorry, Tricia Barnes, 9 Whiting Lane again. He just brought up a good point. Like, how do you know the population of the seniors in town and how many, have you done a study of the current senior center and how many people are utilizing it versus against the population of seniors and who's not using it?
So
my mother lives with me.
we have
She's a
discussed it
senior.
over
She
the
hasn't used it,
We
so
had
I'm
about
just
3
wondering.
meetings dedicated to that topic.
Okay.
In terms of programming and projected use and current use, and we looked at other centers. So all those links to those meetings are also online.
Okay.
So you get a lot of viewing to watch. A lot of
Yeah,
reading to do.
apparently
But
I gotta-
I'll see if I can send you those links. Too. If you go to the building committee site, there's some information there that might be helpful. But we did study that in pretty good detail.
The building committee site would have that.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And if you can't find it, let me know.
Okay, thanks,
Yeah.
Tom.
But we're happy to get that for you. Anybody else? Well, you already had 2 minutes. I want to see anybody else. Oh, Ness Carenti, Ness, you have a hand? Oh, yeah, Ness Carenti, go ahead. Name and address,
Hi.
Ness.
Thank you. Ness Carenti, 17 Ward Street. Just a question. Part of the, a significant portion of the proposed Center for Active Living project cost is related to the removal of the existing decommissioned military facility. If, and I'm sorry if you've answered this in the past, if the Center for Active Living project is not approved, what is the town's, what will the town do with that? Because that is a significant part and that is something that we're required to do.
Good question. Tom, would you take that?
Yeah, sure. I could take a stab at it. Well, it's been sitting there since the 40s, 70s maybe, since it was last used. I would probably guess that it will continue to sit there in its dilapidated state for a period of time until the town, and I haven't seen any plans, Ness, to change, to tear that down outside of a project, either before or after this proposal. That doesn't mean that that wouldn't happen in the future, but as of now, I've seen no proposals to remove it outside of this project.
Did the government give us any timeline that we have to do that by or
No.
or no? We can just, okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else in the room or on Zoom? Just kind of scroll down. All right, make sure we... Okay. Not seeing any. Thank you all for your attendance today. Thank you for your questions, all very good questions. We appreciate the participation and appreciate the interest in the project. Thank you. If people want to stay, great. You're welcome to stay. We have a couple more items, but if you want to leave, ask you to leave quietly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris, Dan, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda is appointments. Do we have any appointments this evening, Liz?
No.
Julie?
No.
All right, next item on the agenda is public comment. Does anyone have any public comment this evening? Yeah, you're welcome to do it. Yep, sure. You have 2 minutes.
Something that's not on the agenda.
Anita Ryan, 37 Baker Hill Drive. Building 14 is very interesting. Building 14 was actually renovated in 1994, 95. And so, actually, let me go back a little bit of history. Building 14 was initially going to be torn down, and the federal government was going to pay for it. When John Richardson, the first chair of the Bear Cove Park Committee, was looking at all the buildings, he wanted to tear them all down. And he got the federal government to agree to decommission and demolish most of the buildings. Building 14 was slated to be demolished, but the town of Hingham said, no, we want that building for storage. And it was the Sewer Commission who saved Building 14. So Sewer Commission used Building 14, and then in 1994-95, we as a town invested money in that Building 14. Sewer Commission left, and the light plant went in there. So we've actually spent some money on that building, and I just wanted to add that back. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? All right, seeing none, we would now turn to Town Administrator Select Board reports, and let me start with Art.
Nothing this evening.
Tom?
So I did approve a one-day special permit this past week at the Congregation Sherei Shalom for Saturday, January 24th, from 7:30 to 11, an estimated of attendance of under 100 people there, and there will be no police detail required.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Julie?
My only comment, besides Happy New Year, is that in the coming weeks, the Select Board and the Advisory Committee will start taking a look at the town budgets, and we'll have a lot of important hearings about the town budget, but also about proposed warrant articles. And then when the warrant closes on January 20th, the whole process of going through each warrant article and looking at the pros and cons will begin. So I just ask people to, if you're willing and able, to participate in the process from the very beginning. If you can, keep an eye on these articles that are coming up. It's going to be very interesting, and there are a lot of opportunities, I think, to make a difference in your opinion and your scrutiny of articles well ahead of town meeting. So I hope that people can participate in the process. Thank you.
Well said, thank you. Liz?
Nothing to add.
Only thing I have to add is we are going to meet on Thursday night this week. It's going to be a Zoom meeting. It's going to be primarily focused on the budget and the budget process to try to get ahead of what we need to do between now and town meeting. So with that, I would take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor, Liz?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. We are adjourned. Everybody have a good night. Have a great week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We recognize that taking time to visit, call, or email our town departments to report issues in Hingham doesn't always fit your schedule. Are you looking for an easier way to communicate with the town? Well, now there's an easier way. With the My Hingham mobile app, you can submit service requests or gain information with just a few taps of your phone. To get started, simply download the My Hingham app from the Apple App Store or Google Play, or simply scan our QR code to get the access to the app that's best for your phone. Once you've opened the app, select the Submit a Service Request button. From there, you can choose the type of request you want to submit, whether it's a pothole, a fallen tree, or something else. You'll then be prompted to take a photo of the issue and provide a brief description. You can also use the app to track the status of your issue and receive updates. Using My Hingham puts immediate access to town resources in the palm of your hand, including calendars of meetings and events, agendas for upcoming meetings, building permit filing options, online bill payment options, information about our boards, committees, departments, and services. So why wait? Download the My Hingham app today and report issues and get information on town government with ease.